morning, Port Arthur. You listen to former Councilman Harold Doucet on the Breeze Radio, KSAP 96.9 FM. Today we're going to be talking about this new DA and the news and what his priorities are and how these priorities are going to impact on our county and our city and what we in Port Arthur may expect to get out of it or what to see. Once again, the views and opinion expressed on the show are solely those of the studio guests, callers, and hosts, and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station or its management. And we're going to drag Flash and for all those who may not know, that's Mr. Mosley. We're going to drag him into the discussion today. And we're going to open it up as always, and you can feel free to call in. The number once again is area code 409-982-0247. And we're going to do it in the form of a discussion this morning, mainly for the purpose of giving you the opportunity to chime in and give your thoughts if you feel like you have something to contribute to the topic today, which is going to be centered around the DA. The new DA is Mr. Corey Crenshaw, and Mr. Crenshaw was appointed by the governor, and his term will be to fill out the remaining term of Tom Mannis, our previous district attorney here for Jefferson County. And we will have election at the end of the year in which we will elect a new DA. But Mr. Crenshaw was previously working here in the city of Beaumont, but he's working out of the U.S. Attorney General's office. And he took office, and after taking office, within the first couple of weeks, we saw that the three top assistants were removed out of office. One retiring and two basically being fired. So that was a little red flag for us who follow what's happening in our city and county government. We found it very odd for someone to come in and immediately remove top three people, but it gives you an idea if you follow normal procedures in which things are done. You know, sometimes people recognize problems. You know, you've probably seen a lot of writing. You've probably heard people talk about Jefferson County and Jefferson County being corrupt, or Jefferson County being the most corrupt county in Texas. And a lot of times we hear these comments, but once again, people can't point to specific things in which they form that conclusion. Because I, for one, hate when people say the county is corrupt. You know, the county can't be corrupt. There's too many good people here in our county. Just as in the city can't be corrupt. There's too many good people to say your city is corrupt. But what people have a tendency to do is know that there's a problem, they know that there's corruption, but because they don't know who, they use the whole item, such as a city, a government, a state, you know. And an example of what I'm trying to say to make it more clear to the audience is Beaumont Independent School District. I hear people say, man, what's happening in Beaumont Independent School District? You know, boy, the folks stealing $4 million. I don't look at it that way. I think the Beaumont Independent School District has a lot of honest people, people with character and people with integrity. I think there's 4 or 5 people that probably was in cahoots with this to embezzle and take that money, but it wasn't a school district. But because people don't know who these people are, Are they not following the news because the people's names are being placed in the news? Or they think it's easy to say Beaumont Independent School District. Well, why should all the hard-working people in that school district have to be subjected to someone saying they're criminals? Why should the students have to hear people say that their school district is corrupt? You know, we as citizens, we as people, we need to start understanding. Before we start repeating what we hear, we need to find out what are the facts. And if you find out what are the facts, you'll start finding out that instead of Beaumont Independent School District, you'll be able to say the name of the people that have created this problem, or the name of the people who are corrupt and who are criminals, and give the rest of the people the credit. But Mr. Crenshaw has basically come in, and he has to probably take a look at our county, and he has come on the record on several interviews now, and has consistently made his speech and let everyone know his priority was public officials that are corrupt. He's used the term public official who has taken advantage of or abused the public trust. Now, that's key. When we talk about electing our officials, that's why it's so important we talk about people with character, honesty, and integrity. If you get people who have character, they're honest, and they have integrity, you won't have to worry about corruption. These people will serve you and serve you correct. And when an individual stray and violate or does not possess those three traits or character, you need to understand they don't need to be public servants, because you as the people have to have people serving you that are honest and have the character to represent you and manage your money in your city. Because if you don't, this situation in Beaumont Independent School District can be happening at the county level, in county government. It could be happening at the city level, in city government. Which leads me to the last statement he made in his reference to forming a task force, Steve, when he said he's going to be looking into public officials who abuse public trust from the city hall of Port Arthur to the city hall of Beaumont.
Wait a minute. Did he say Port Arthur? I missed that.
Yeah, from the city hall of Port Arthur.
Yeah, go check it out. The last article I read, of course, I'm probably a little bit behind, was March the 6th, and I think that was Thursday last week. But what really caught my attention in the article, U.S. Attorney Jefferson County DA announced task force, was that, of course, that did catch my attention right then, about from City Hall in Beaumont to City Hall in Port Arthur. They didn't name, did you say any other cities?
No.
Just
no.
Beaumont and Port Arthur.
Yeah, but
so
you know,
it gets me to think, have they already, seems like they've already identified some problem areas, situations that, for them to say that specifically, that they've identified they're going to attack, or at least try to investigate.
That was my take on it.
Mm-hmm.
My take on it is simply from one to another, you know, why mention it? You know, and what a lot of citizens may not understand, when you have an individual like Mr. Crenshaw, who is working at the U.S. Attorney General's office in the city of Beaumont, move over to become the interim DA by appointment from the governor. Wow. You have to understand that a lot of what was happening and going on, he knows. He listened to the news. He heard conversations. So he have a pretty good idea on what's happening throughout the county.
So and I guess one to think, and I'm not trying to throw stones or cast any dispersions, but would that render one to think that while he's still there and has moved over, and why maybe the previous DA, Mr. Tom Manus, is retired? Is it conceivable that Mr. Manus was really ready to go, or that he may have been discussions with him that is best he leave, or did they give him what they call made him an offer he couldn't refuse? With this, with the new DA in place and being right there, and them speaking as strongly as they're talking right now, you would think that you would think that these are cases that have been sitting there, possibly, or complaints have been sitting there, where no action has been taken under the previous DA, and now these guys have stepped in not only with just their own resources, but a combination of resources from other departments, to work in a task force to make a clean sweep. And sounds like these guys are ready to put some folk away.
Well,
What do you think?
those are my sentiment. Having followed government and how government works, when you start combining different levels of government, it's not nothing that because you have to start determining your resources. That is, how many people you're going to dedicate from this level to contribute to this. What are we going to provide them with? Then once you decide that, then they have to go to, okay, how are we going to handle this? What's going to be your authority? What's going to be their authority? Okay, who's going to lead this combination of your different levels of governments?
Wow.
And this going to take a lot of time and planning, and then you go back to saying, okay, who's got to approve us doing this, working all these different levels of government together,
Yes.
So this going to go, in my opinion, probably up to the U.S. Attorney General, Eric Holder, because now you're getting federal, working with state, working with local, and all these agencies already got their own authority. So in order to put them all together and have them to work in unison, you have to have ground rules. And those ground rules are something that has to be worked out.
Yeah.
Now, I heard more from the DA's office in reference to newspaper and television. Now, I probably heard, since I've been here in the city of Port Arthur since 2000, from the previous DA, Manus, who's rarely commenting on anything, So that in itself kind of lets you get an idea that none of this is happening just by spur of the moment or a decision made. This is something that had probably had been in the making, and as for whether Manus decided to retire or not, Mr. Manus retired or not, it's really not an issue. But what you can start thinking is, a person who has served so long at his age, and he was on his last term and only had 1 year to go, you've been in the mix this long, and you only got 1 year to go. Why would you up and say, well, I'm retiring? The other thing is, you start looking at the domino effect and what's happening with this. And if you understand government, you have to understand that there's got to be a plan that now is going to be executed. The plan has went into actions, okay? And all of the pieces are in place. And those pieces are being that task force. That task force is critical because that task force is composed of individuals out of the U.S. Attorney General's office. It's individuals out of the federal government. It's individuals out of state government. It's the FBI, Texas Rangers. Okay, so right then, you're looking at every level of government involved in the task force. What, to come and investigate complaints? No. You don't form that level because you don't need the federal or state government as a DA to investigate a complaint within your county. I mean, you don't need them. You know, I don't care what it is, on what level. The complaint comes from your citizens to your DA, and the DA then decides whether he has enough information there to present it to a grand jury. Okay? Do a charge and present it to the grand jury. So we don't really need these other levels because when it comes to him, he can determine then whether it's something that he can prosecute at the county or whether he needs to turn this over to the to the state in order for the state to come in and handle it, or he could determine whether this is a federal offense in which he called in the FBI. So he had all these resources available to him anyway. So why form this task force? A task force is formed to dedicate itself to a certain mission.
Oh well, maybe they're just flussing up. Maybe they're just fluffing up. You're just flexing their muscles, trying to frighten people, scaring folk into thinking that, okay, the bad boy's the new sheriff in town, and I've got to make some points, I'm the new DA, so I'm going to get folks' attention. I'm going to come up with all these entities, these groups together, and to show strength, to make a statement to the community about his new administration. I mean, they do this all the time. So I mean, is anything special about this?
No. You're not gonna find no DA coming in that's gonna have a task force.
I mean, the Jones boys did it when is that the Jones brothers? The Jones boys when they came and supposed to clean up Port Arthur.
No,
they
man.
started a task force.
No,
they did this, they did all that, and they floated.
Elliot Ness did it, man, but that was in Prohibition time, bro. Come on now, we talking about today. It's these people, Steve. That's the key to it. You can't pull people from your federal and your state level to come and work on a task force to help you. At the county level, they have to have a purpose and the reasons for doing so. Think about it.
Well, maybe they feel like that they've got to get these people in place so they would expedite anything that they deal with, so they don't have to stop the process and then go get this part of the government involved, So that's what it seemed like. It made they just fluffing up, man. No serious business.
You're absolutely right. Repeat that again. Repeat it. Repeat what you said.
That to bring them together to expedite the case that they may issue.
You got it. So how do you know you're gonna be dealing with something where you're gonna need them to expedite it?
Well, just in case. That's what I'm saying.
Just in case.
But this DBDA may be more. He's a younger guy. He's not old. He's not an older guy like Mr. Manus was, because he, like you said, maybe he is at a point in his life where he just, thought that people will learn, sooner or later that they're doing it wrong and they'll straighten up the act, with a little bit of shake or something. And this guy here comes in now and, just really tossed the covers off the bed. And so, that's what it seemed like to me. So, a lot of times that's just like a bullet. A bully will always toss up and flounce up and everything like that until, and then when he get knocked down or something, he got to go get his reinforcements. But if he got his reinforcements right there with him, then, if he meets something, he can deal with it, right then. But I don't know. Maybe they're not flossing. Maybe they're real. Maybe they're serious. I guess we'll find out when folks start going to jail or when they start closing cases. Then we'll know if they're serious or not.
Well,
you say?
You all know Mr. Mosley's way of trying to get a point over. So evidently, the point is...
I'm just looking at it realistically. If anybody else looking at this, I'm at the street level. Of course, you're looking at it from a position where you were in the service. And so you understand those lines of communication, those lines of authority. And you realize, the kind of money that's put into that.
That's right.
But you could be wrong, though.
No, let me tell you something.
And I could be right this time.
Well, you're right, because you know that there's a reason that this task force is created. You're just trying to bring it out and spur the conversation. I understand, but the bottom line is, look here.
You think folks going to jail?
Hey, let me tell you something. When you start bringing in different levels of government and authority, and you start putting them in one task force, there has to be a clear understanding on each level's responsibility and authority, and above all, choosing the individual to head it. You know, it's a task force that is formed, the DA announced by the DA's office. However, the person that's heading this task force is an individual out of the U.S. Attorney General's office. So, you know, this is something that you have to really take a hard look at. Why was it formed, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, yes, when something come up, you got somebody there that can handle it and expedite it. True, but I think that's why the task force was formed, so that
cover all the bases.
that's right. So they don't have to go out and get them and bring them in to do it. You know, they be able to operate on it. And before we move on, I just want to say you listen to the Breeze, KSAP 96.9 on the FM. And if you got any comments about this new DA and this priority, please feel free to call in at area code 409-982-0247 to continue with the conversation. You know, that's a lot of people at different levels. So you got a lot of people that's bringing their own level of authority. And let me tell you something, you know, our police department has its authority and its jurisdiction.
So you think they get involved or get in the way or something like that? It's kind of like a big drug bust. They'll flash their badge and tell the cops, step over, we got it from here.
And all of the rules are set. So there's a clear understanding on how these different levels of authorities is going to work. And, you know, by him setting a priority, you know, of coming into your city, you know, we all know that individuals who are new. Oh, look here, we got a caller. Okay, caller, you on air.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Doucet.
Good morning.
And good morning, Mr. Moses.
Good morning, caller. How you doing?
Pretty good, good.
Thanks for joining the conversation.
Say
thanks for joining the conversation.
Okay, all right, you're welcome, a third consideration, okay? I've listened to both of you intently, and I agree with both insights. Let me interject a third insight. As we have reported on the Breeze Radio many times about human trafficking, and Port Arthur also being a sanctuary city, and the recent influx of immigrants without papers, and also businesses that were hiring illegal immigrants for work, contracts that are being switched back and forth for low bidding, and also the influx of a lot of restaurants, hotels, and prostitutes.
I mean, what we haven't said, I think you covered everything in that one little swatch right there.
Now, listen closely.
All right.
Along with that comes drug trafficking, Highway 10, 69, and also money laundering. All of that covers breaking state laws, city laws, and federal laws.
Wow.
Someone knows, and you say this a lot, Mr. Mosby, watch the money. Look for the money trail.
Follow the money.
And in all of that, it is an indication that crime is the reason they put this together. Like Mr. Doucet said earlier, people say things, but they don't really know exactly where to point the finger. I just pointed the finger to the crime that has been going on. And I've been doing that for as you know, on the radio for months. But the thing is that nobody has been able to pinpoint who is involved in all of this. it's just like the drug pusher. You get the drug pusher, but you keep trying to get information on the kingpin, and you can't. The drugs come in the cars and in the trucks and all that kind of stuff, and you get the driver, and by chance somebody gets stopped, and you get this you get the supply, but you have to find out where it's coming from. Now you have the authorities, as he just said, coming together for communication. There has been a lack of intercommunication between agencies, the FDA, the firearms and tobacco, the FBI, the state Texas Rangers, the city task force. So communication is key, and this is the reason why I believe money is here in this county, lots of it, and lots of it is coming to fold when the canal starts. The canal starts getting dredged. There's a lot of money, and also there's a lot of foreigners that is coming into this area, creating and buying up land and businesses, and nobody's telling you about it.
What?
Okay, so he's right. The reason they are doing this is because of the crime that has already gone on, that has been under the covers, and also of the intended crime that is going to come. You said Jones boys, but that was the James. And the James and them came in with the Texas Rangers because they had months and months and months of investigations to come in, and when they did come in, they really didn't announce they were coming in. They came in and people went to jail. Simple as that. Thank you.
Well, I tell you what, thank you, caller, very much, because I was able to save a little breath here on that one, because he is 100% correct. He's 100% correct for the simple reason that my first topic was Mr. Crenshaw, and then the task force makeup and his priorities. His priority, we talked about public official, and that other part was criminal. And our caller covered the criminal part, and let me tell you something, Steve, couldn't cover it no better than I would have covered. In fact, covered it a little better than I would have
Need to
covered.
give him his own show.
Hey, let me tell you something. I was going to talk criminal as his second priority, and kind of throw it out to the citizens of what they were talking about. But I hope everyone heard that comment by the caller, because that's exactly what entails the second portion of his priority, which is criminals and crime. You know, he says public officials who abuse public trust and crime, criminals.
Let's take a 2-minute break. We'll be right back on that. You can pick up on that point.
You got it. And you know, Steve, we're talking about DA, and when we left off, we had just talked about his priorities. One, we talked about the criminal aspect of it, and our caller covered that entirely for us, and he saved us a whole lot of conversation this morning. I'll tell you, I should have been in the house today. You know, we could have really had a good deal. But
well, he's still right there. I'm sure the caller's still right there on standby. So
I tell you what,
he's done another point that he'll call back, I'm sure.
I tell you what, he's done a great job with getting people to understand the criminal aspect and how that task force will work in response to that.
And you know, it's really, and that makes it pretty clear from what he said.
Oh yes.
Those particular parts of the task force kind of specialize in those areas that he named.
Well.
You know, even from drug trafficking and human trafficking, and you know, because there were just some recent issues that have happened in the I think it was at the Groves area, Port Angeles area, where they had some restaurant folk were tied up, not tied up, but they were held up in housing.
You're on, caller.
Yes, I just stepped away from the radio a moment. I didn't want any feedback, and so I don't know if you all covered this while I was in transition. I'm a little confused, Councilman. If Mr. Crenshaw was with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I know that by saying this, there are going to be lots of Texans who are going to cringe, but which is in a hierarchy is actually higher in positions than the local district attorney. So I'm a little confused as to why, if he's making these moves now, and he was with the U.S. Attorney's Office, which is by its very existence supposed to be here to look into these things that they would suspect is going on the state or the local level and take action. So I'm just a little confused as to why the gusto now and not before. And if you can give me some idea about that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Hang on, caller. Stay with us, caller.
Oh, not knowing the exact answer to that because I'm not him, but I can tell you when you talk about different level of government working, they have their own jurisdiction and authority. Although you could be in the U.S. Attorney General office in Beaumont, you know, if you having an issue, you more than likely want to start with one. If you're in the city, you want to start with the city police department. If you don't get any justice there, you can now move to your county, which you have your DA's office. You can go to your DA, and your DA can determine, one, if there's sufficient evidence and reasons for them to pursue it, and then he could put the charges, and then he can then refer it to a grand jury for the purpose of either indicting or not indicting. Now, if you want to talk about the DA not taking it into consideration, not considering, then you have the U.S. Attorney General office, and you could go to and express your concern and your complaint. But you have to understand the levels of authority and the process, because a lot of time an issue is an issue for a level of jurisdiction, and they'll refer you there first. You know, like sometimes you may go to a higher court, and the court, before they render a decision, they may refer it back to the lower court. It's all a jurisdiction thing, and whereby people just take a look at what they have and what they have before them. So it's not that he was here but didn't do anything. It's the fact is he was here, but what came across their desk that was in their jurisdiction. And I think that is the reason you probably didn't hear them just stepping in. You just don't step in another's level of jurisdiction because you're hired. You know, you have to have a reason, you have to have a purpose, and more than all, you probably have to have a complaint. So maybe a lot of people understood the levels of authority and elect to go through the proper procedure before they got to him. And I think that's part of the problem here in our county. A lot of it stopped at the DA's office. So that seemed to be the big question.
Caller, let me ask you, are you somewhat like me, maybe, that they're fluffing up, they're just showing some muscle right up on the front end? Because if he's already been there, and I guess like Councilman say, you just don't step on somebody else's toes in the office, but, you know, we've seen cases where some DAs have just walked in over them and say, we're taking over because you're not getting done. What we see is happening here is corruption unless that DA is a part of it. What do you think about that?
Well, here's, I guess, the substance of my questioning. There is indeed the grand jury system, but there is also a federal grand jury which deals with crimes on that level that would be federal in nature. And we've seen over time corruption in government actually handled through the FBI investigations and going through a grand jury. So my question is I guess it is to the category of the corruption, because if it was on a certain level, it would automatically be federal, because that's why they're here. See what I'm saying? It's stratified. So, you know, and so that's why I'm curious as to, you know, because as you notice, and I'm not pointing aspersions, but the gentleman with the BISD who was involved with the embezzlement, the FBI went to his home. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It wasn't BPD. And so that's what makes me curious as to the nature of the corruption, the level of the corruption, and the degree.
Well, caller, to make that clear, That's why normally you take the complaint even to the police department. A lot of times when it gets to your DA will determine what law was violated and where the jurisdiction lies. You know, and if it's a state, then you know they will refer to the state, and if it's federal, then they will refer to federal, and then that's where you have the different offices and the different levels to be able to deal with those particular crimes. But initially, we as citizens have to understand our way of complaining and complain to the right level. And here in the county, you know, when you feel you're not getting any results here in your local law enforcement, then you know the first person you turn to is the district attorney's office, because that is the one that's supposed to be able to help you. Now, not to say that the crime you're talking about is going to stay at his level, but he is the one that will determine what law was violated, and if that law was violated, he'll know which level it goes to, and at which time he will refer to the right individuals. And a lot of times people have the right to jump from one straight to the other one, and if they determine that what the complaint is their jurisdiction, yes, they will come in and investigate it.
Call it right quick. You seem to have some reservations, so let's keep it real. What is it that's eating at you? What's
Well, again, I'm just curious, because I've heard some of the same things that the other caller talked about, which is in terms of there sounds like there may be some impropriety in this whole area of contractors and coming into the area, and what people here are implying is freezing out local workers to hire individuals who are questionably qualified for positions.
I see.
And doing so because it's a wage differential issue. That means that they're able to hire people who are here illegally at half the wage that someone who is qualified, certified, and able to do so here with them under contract. I've heard it, and I've been wondering why there hasn't been any action. And if Councilman Doucet is inferring that the locals have to make the referral to the federal, that might explain it, because there are some oddities transpiring that don't seem to make sense.
Thank you, caller. And just to reemphasize on the point you're making, that is why this task force is formed. That is why they're coming in and they're stating a priority. The DA is telling the county what I want to really concentrate on during my short period that I'm going to be the DA in your county. And it's like you said, they have a pretty good idea on it. And for them to form this task force and have a targeted priority, it states that they're going into areas that they knew that is a problem here in our county and our cities. And you're exactly right. A lot of things that did not get to them that they probably hear and they see, you know, they probably was part of the reason this is coming to this magnitude at this time. That's why they decided to form all these different task forces and gather everybody together. And now let's go in and take a look at these areas that we've heard so much complaint about, that we've seen so many things happen, but yet nothing was never done. Okay? So although they didn't do anything out of the U.S. Attorney General office, what you have to understand is because they are aware of what's going on, now is an opportunity. And this opportunity, as it is occurring, is not occurring just out of coincidence.
Yeah.
And the priorities were not set just out of coincidence.
And you would think that too, caller. And you would think that with the new DA and the new Attorney General, and the new United States Attorney and the District Attorney have relieved everybody else in that department. So it's like okay, we've been seeing it, and we see you haven't been doing nothing about it. Get out of the way. Yeah. There's a new sheriff in town. Do you get that call?
Well, I certainly think that from what I've seen, and I didn't hear the most recent information from the new district attorney that I understand that he was not considering running for the position.
Mhm.
So I figured that that calculated into this in some manner. So I think we're going to see something, and we'll just see how it rolls.
Right, and one thing, he definitely couldn't run for the position because that is not what they're doing. They won't appoint anybody for an interim basis, and that individual had the opportunity to run for that position because that would give them a market advantage over all other candidates. So that's U.S. Attorney's Office also helped in the sense that although he did not have a lot of cases that got to his desk, he was able to follow what was happening, what's going on. So when they determine that they want to come in, they already have targets and they have area. And like I said, the caller before you, I think when he described the criminal aspect of what he can envision with this task force doing is exactly why that task force is combined with all levels of government from federal on down to county, for the simple reason that they're ready to take it on.
City.
City.
Not to the city
Right.
too, you said.
Yeah. Well, they're ready to take it on,
Oh.
and when they take it on, they're not going to be able to call in and call. No, it's all that. Let's work with it, guys. And not only that, but I have people at every level they're going to cooperate with my investigation.
And when he ready to pull the trigger,
Well,
he'll pull the trigger.
yeah. Well, you see, the thing is, how many times you went in as a state or federal, and you'll find that the local people gonna protect their own. They're not gonna do it. But in a case like this, you have everybody on this team that's gonna be supporting that effort at all levels. So that takes away the idea that if we want to come in as let's use the state level, we're gonna come in the Texas Ranger investigate. Well, we don't have anybody at the county level that's going to resist this or not cooperate or not give them the fullest cooperation. You have this team that we all together, we know our game plan, we're going to work together, and guess what? We're going to clean this up. It's like Ness with prohibition. So the bottom line is you have to understand what is happening. So, we got the criminal, and we discussed this pretty much. We need to just hit out, take a look at the public officials.
Let me just say this right quick, Carl. I'm gonna let you hang up and then you can finish your point. Here's what you said you didn't hear him say. You say that what Crenshaw said, we look forward to ensuring that those who have abused their positions of public trust will be prosecuted and removed from those positions. Our task force will bring to justice any individual who has abused the people's trust and put both the future of our children and our economy at risk. And I'll leave it with you there. Your final comment, Carl. Appreciate your call.
Okay. I just wanted to say that under the Clinton administration, the RICO statute was reconfigured, and if collusion and conspiracy that can amount to a racketeering operation, then that's a federal offense.
Right. And, that's why this team is put together in the fashion it is. And
Thank you for your call.
Once again, caller. And going back to what you read, the last statement you read, Steve, and that covers our last part here, whereby his priority, we said, was two, public officials and criminal. Our caller really spoke very well and explained the criminal aspect, and he covered it from all spectrum.
Right.
And on a public official level, the key there is abusing the public's trust, okay? And you have elected official who for some reason takes advantage of the public lack of knowledge on city government and how it's run.
That's what I wanted to ask you, because the public trust, what's the public trust?
Well,
but you're saying it is any official who has, say, blatantly or purposely or premeditatedly used information against the public that the public did not know about.
Right. This is not necessarily limited to elected officials, okay? This can include staff, a person. There are public people.
Public
Right.
figure.
Come on, Carla.
Yes, the caller mentioned the RICO laws. For those people who don't understand and don't know about the RICO laws, that's racketeering. Okay? Racketeering. And the thing is, it's some things that make my mind go, When the electrician was investigated, federal government got involved in that. Okay? With Beaumont. And the IRS got involved in it. That's federal. But the statute was broken, the laws are broken at state level and even contract level. This is my thing that makes me go, The county tax assessor recently resigned in the middle of a
Election.
and took on a new appointment that nobody knows where he went. That publicly knows where he went. The next thing is it make me go, is before the investigation came with the Beaumont Independent School District, the superintendent resigned. And a hand-picked man was put in the spot. Now, all of the corruption or the grafting was going on not just this year or last year, but during administration of the previous superintendent. Then in the school district, there are people working that are not certified to teach our children.
Yeah.
You see, so this is a big thing that that the public may not be even aware of. You see, okay? So thank you for the discussion today.
I appreciate your call.
Well, thank you, Carla.
Yeah,
And once again, he explained the RICO law, and that's, you're gonna find out. We're gonna get to our public officials and public servants, and I'm glad to see the DA make that a priority. I served on city council for 2 years, and if there's one facet that I feel need to be cleaned up here in this county of Jefferson, it's in appointed and elected officials within this county. It has gotten completely out of whack.
How do you mean? How do you mean it got completely out of whack?
Well, we have public officials who don't even understand the form of government and how it works. And we have people who abuse their official capacity. When I say abuse their official capacity, they think that being an elected official give you the right to have benefits and things that are not awarded to you within the position for which you hold.
Wait a minute, isn't that what we have lawyers on the council and city managers on the council who specialize in these areas specifically? In other words, the city manager understands the running of a city, and the lawyer understands what the laws prescribe that everyone is supposed to abide by.
I'm telling you,
the only way that council members cannot do what is required of them to do is because persons who either have been appointed to those jobs or have been hired for those jobs are not doing the job. Would that be correct?
I'm telling you that most city officials here in the city of Port Arthur, I'll speak about Port Arthur because I like to stick with information that I feel could be supported. But there are public officials that actually don't understand the charter for which this city is governed. They don't even understand the form of government and levels of authority. And you mentioned, along with councilman, you also mentioned the city manager. Well, that's the problem here in the city of Port Arthur. And I can say from serving on council, understanding our form of government and understanding government at the municipal level, our city, with the form of government, we have a home rule with the manager council form of government. If you do not have a city manager that controls the staff on a day-to-day basis, you are setting yourself up for failure. that council members, if you look at the charter allows council members to inquire and ask certain things of staff. But they cannot dictate to staff. They cannot tell staff, I want you to do this. I want you to do that. And here in this city, we've had gotten away from our form of government. You've had people tell staff to do things, and staff are doing it, and the city manager is not saying, okay. Well, what you're doing is you're taking that staff away from doing what they should be doing in a daily operation of the city to do something that's not their prescribed job for that day. So a city manager has to understand nobody tells the staff what to do but me.
The manager, yeah.
Okay? And that's to include the mayor. And the problem here in the city of Port Arthur, most of the citizens out here in the city of Port Arthur thinks the mayor runs the city.
Yes.
The mayor does not have any more authority than a council member. She has more responsibility than council member because she also have an obligation to be ceremonial, cut ribbons and give out proclamations and appear and speak and represent our city. Mm-hmm. So there's other responsibilities. But authority-wise, it's no more authority than council members
Just
because one vote, one voice for the simple reason.
Wow.
It's also a part-time position. And the little more that she gets other than council member is because she has additional responsibility like going to ribbon cuttings, going somewhere and giving out proclamations, going to a function and speaking on behalf of the city and
Mm-hmm.
representing our city. So she does a few more ceremonial things on the plate.
So you're saying that you're seeing a lot of this either mismanagement or no management or lack of management and misuse of authority.
It's abuse of official capacity.
Abuse, not just misuse,
It's
but
abuse. It's abuse of official capacity for the simple reason that they're not understanding where their role is and what their responsibility is. You know, you cannot run the city. The city manager runs this city. The city manager, if the city manager cannot control the staff and people telling the staff what to do, you're going to find a city in the condition that the city of Port Arthur in. Half is looking nice and half look like third world country. But the day the city manager and let the staff know, unless I tell you to do it, don't you do it. And every council person, to include the mayor, if he tells them, if you are asking a question, if you need information, please by all means go to the staff. You don't have to come to me. But if you want the staff to do something, come to me, and then I will clear it and I'll get it done.
it shouldn't be both ways. I mean, if council needed something from the staff, they should go to the city manager first, wouldn't they? And then he takes it to the staff.
Well, that's what I'm just
Or the
saying.
staff?
No, you have to understand what I'm saying. I'm saying council by charter has the right to inquire. In other words, I could go to any department and ask them questions.
Yeah.
Like I could go to housing and says, hey, where are the lots that we own here in the city? That's an inquiry.
Yeah.
I can inquire, okay?
And they're
Okay.
obligated to give you that information.
The charter says that.
Mhm.
I can inquire. But now, direct, you cannot direct. What I mean by direct, I can't go and say, look,
I got a friend over here that needs this lot. I need you to make sure they get that lot.
I want you to go and get this
Just have paperwork.
I want you to get this street fixed. I want this street fixed. Well, you can't say you want that street fixed because they should have a plan of what they're going to be doing that day. And if they're going to interrupt that, then the city manager should be the one that makes that call.
I see.
Or that supervisor has to make that call because they're going to be held accountable.
Yeah, and
See?
that supervisor reports to the city manager.
Right. So when you talk about a city manager, any city manager comes into this city and understand this form of government and understand his authority
Yeah.
and his role. If he takes charge, I guarantee you that you will see a difference in this city within
6 months.
6 months. Within 6 months, you will see a city moving in a completely different direction. But you can't come in here playing politics, catering to people who trying to tell you what to do or telling your staff what to do, because
That make him of none effect.
well, not only that,
Yeah.
but you losing control of your staff. Not only that, but you letting this individual think that they have authority that they don't have. And the last thing I wanted to discuss today on the impact that I feel the new DA's priority and his actions going to have on Port Arthur. You're going to see some changes. Port Arthur is going to have to change in order to not be another Beaumont Independent School District fiasco, whereby you have a good city now, and you have to understand, our city is not bad.
No.
We have great citizens, we have good people, we have good council members. But trust me when I tell you there are council members that don't even think in terms of what's best for our citizens in our city. They're more concerned with themselves and what they can do to better themselves. Okay?
Personal interest.
Right. I'm telling you that that's the facts. And I'm telling people that the people in Port Arthur at one time gonna be saying the same thing when individuals are singled out as being corrupt. You won't hear people saying this person, that person, that person. They're gonna say, oh, that city council was all corrupt. And here we go again. We are talking about people who are giving their all to serve this city, to take care of the citizens, to make it a better city. And we have few people. And what people need to understand is there's always bad apples in a bushel. So to say that it ain't is a false pretense, and you're not living in a utopian society. But what one has to have the intestinal fortitude to do is
Get the bad apples out.
when you see
The
the
bad
rotten apple, pull it out. Because if you don't pull it out, I promise you, you'll get more rotten apples. And once again, you will listen to the Breeze Radio, KSAP 96.9 FM, with old David Jones in the house as usual, filming, and Flash giving us his comment this morning. And we had two outstanding callers, and both callers gave us information that truly cleared a lot of questions that you, the public, may have. And make sure you stay tuned next Monday, because next Monday we're going to rock the house with elections. You will hear about some of the accomplishments of our council members who are up for re-election, and also those who are serving on council. So remember, we're in the election year. Stay tuned next week, because we will get into the election and we will tell you, this is what you got this year. Do you want to keep it? If not, find out on It's Your City. I'm out.